Welcome to the Client Success Customer Support Executive Post-Event Panel Discussion. Today, we discussed implementing AI in your business. We know that client success, customer support executives are all about this right now, doing a lot of different things, a lot of really cool things. And for today's Brain Trust, we actually had a panel discussion talking about a couple use cases. And then we went into breakout rooms and we all shared how we're experiencing it and what's happening. So today I'd actually loved one of our panelists, Mackenzie Wells, to speak about her use case and what she shared with the group. And then I'm going to open it up for discussion around what else was shared in our breakout rooms. So Mackenzie, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, for sure. Happy to. So today I was talking about in the ed tech communication space, how we are utilizing AI to reduce false positives and psychological load on our human moderators to increase the safety on the platform. We applied a large language model and a deep learning visualization model to our image moderation flows to reduce those false negatives false positives. And then we also applied a workflow for our customer support representatives who are in charge of moderation to ensure we're increasing their ability to be psychologically safe when reviewing content that may not always be above bar, if you will. So we saw a 15% reduction in those false positives immediately after tuning and working through this. And then we hope to continue to elevate that to a 40% threshold as we continue to monitor and the content to create safe environments for our parents, families, and students.
Very cool use case. Appreciate that, Mackenzie. And definitely got a lot of us thinking in terms of some really cool ways you can use AI to even, I love your psychological safety point. Being a moderator can be challenging, right? And there's a lot with that. And so being able to eliminate some of the risk there is super cool. All right, so let's move over. Alex, what are some of the ways you're experiencing AI in your organization?
Right. So nice to meet you all. My name is Alex. I'm calling from Carbine 911, call handling solution for 911 call centers in the US and Latin America. So basically, one of the biggest challenges that I had, so we are receiving customer calls to our support line, right? And then the NOC engineer who is accepting the call is triaging, and then eventually the call concludes, and then a ticket is started. So basically, there was a kind of challenge where we somehow missed critical tickets, and then the escalation got delayed. So what we did, we implemented an AI solution that actually summarizes the audio recording and then provides you a transcription and the key activities of that call. And then it is going to list all the critical points that were discussed in that call and provide you like an executive summary of what the issue is. It automatically goes to Zendesk, creates a ticket, and automatically send it to the support lead's inbox. So if there is a call, we as an executive receive the email, and we know based on the transcription whether we need to escalate immediately because it's still under, I don't know, investigation, and the NOC engineer is still not fully understand what the situation is. But if there is a business impact, then we need to make sure that we are going to update first and foremost the C-suite, the customer success manager, engage the customer, start a bridge, and start triaging because we are dealing with a 911 industry. So we need to take action immediately. So those challenges were resolved when we implemented the tools. And basically, we had a very high success, escalating very fast in case we identify, and even it classifies the transcription by keywords. So if it's going to have any words like emergency, like system down, hard down, error, network error, so it's going to classify it also differently when it's going to create a ticket. So it's going to increase the severity. It's going to create a P1 ticket instead of a P3 ticket if it's a regular call. So this assisted us as an executive to start and escalate faster to make sure that we are responding faster to critical incidents.
Amazing use case. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Alex. Definitely a lot to think about there. And just knowing the industry that you're in, really fascinating. So thank you. Darcy, let's move over to you, and then we'll open it up to anyone that wants to jump in and share after that.
You bet. Thanks, Paul. So I was overseeing a support team for a healthcare SaaS application. So working with the urgent care industry. And on a breakout session, I shared 3 use cases that we had implemented. So the first one was our team would use our internal knowledge base for a lot of the research and looking for problems to help solve tickets. So we had an internal engineer that had created a search algorithm that we embedded inside of our KB platform itself. So they could ask a very common sense question, and then it would surface up the knowledge articles that might match what they were looking for. So kind of an easy way to go in and look for specific content. That was kind of surpassed by our KB platform vendor came out with their own version of a Gen AI feature. So that same Gen AI search capability within the native platform itself. So the first phase was successful, but we found that there was some, I guess, some retooling that needed to be done based on the articles that it was surfacing. And then knowing that the platform provider had already tested this across hundreds of customers, we felt more confident flipping the switch and turning it on inside of the platform itself. So kind of the same, solving for the same problem, but coming at it from 2 different directions. The second one that we did was we were very heavy voice. So 75% of our ticket volume was coming in through the phone. And the comment that was made earlier about the documentation needing to be accurate or consistent, we had that problem, right? So 3 different reps could get the same phone call and write 3 different tickets. So what we were going to do was implement an auto summary feature, which allowed the phone platform to record the call, summarize the phone call itself, and then drop that conversation in the description field within the ticket itself. So they literally wouldn't have to document as they were trying to solve the problem. That was being recorded and would be summarized inside of the ticket through the platform. And then finally, we were a Salesforce shop. So had introduced live chat using the Salesforce messaging component, and we're building out a library of responses where the digital assistant could deflect and provide the solutions without having to include a live agent. So how many could we solve by known problems and solutions versus having to have somebody interact with the customer through chat?
Wow, you guys are implementing a lot. What would be one of your biggest takeaways or one of your biggest pieces of advice when implementing this kind of thing, and how is it different from, maybe past software?
For me, I felt like we were behind, but again, I think AI is, while it's fairly well known, there's so much runway left ahead of us, things that we can do and accomplish. So I think the big takeaway for me from the call today was just about the whole focus on that documentation, get that right. And then so many of these tools and platforms can really work as intended and have better outcomes based on the underlying data.
Great stuff. Anyone else have some thoughts around this topic? Experiencing AI, they'd love to share.
So I can go on here. So I have a very interesting relationship with how we're utilizing AI in the organization, and we manufacture IP security cameras, and a lot of the people we've been working with as far as our demographic goes, as mentioned is in the breakout room, we have a very older demographic that was installing cameras around the time when analog cameras were still a thing. So these individuals don't necessarily want to deal with a machine responding to them. They want another human being. Where I have seen the best leverage of AI, and this is from talking to other customer service executives and technical support executives, is internal usage. So where we have agents, like you were saying, Darcy, with your knowledge base hookup, where you were able to scrape the knowledge base and provide the answers to the agents for that, for the responses. For me, mostly, this goes into our sales team and how I've been researching a product called Glean that was kind of pulling across from using all knowledge base repositories or knowledge repositories as scrape sources and data lakes and returning those answers in a chosen or preferred communication platform that the specific individual will be using. So if my regional director for the East Coast is typing an email to me that has already been responded to in another email in his mailbox, it'll, like, the Gleam platform will automatically pull that up and tell him, hey man, this is the answer you're looking for. It was already responded to back in that day. So for my organization, where we can utilize this for externally for our customers, I think the better benefit, and I think for a lot of organizations, the better benefit is internal usage because it allows you to be more productive while still giving that individual service to your customers when they call in.
Great point. Great emphasis. Thank you, Nathan. Love that. All right. Any last thoughts?
I have one more, Paul, if we've got time for it. But another thing we did internally here is we do an employee net promoter score survey for all of the employees internally each year. And in order to analyze those, I know I, as a leader of like 30 plus people on my team, spend a ton of time just navigating the comments section and really trying to interpret like how my team is doing. And as a group of leaders here, what we used this year was we put in to Notebook LLM. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that Google product, but we put last year's free text comments from the survey and this year's free text comments from the survey and gave ourselves an opportunity to ask of it questions like, what could we see from 2024, 2023 that we had improved on in 2024? And what now is the most like critical thing for us to focus on for the growth and development of the team? So that's more internally tuned, but it really shrunk the amount of like dedicated time to read that you had to spend on these one-off answers that you make your own connections for. And I think the LLM model there was really excellent at pulling that mind map together for us.
Lovely point. I'm so glad you brought a notebook into this, Mackenzie. As a community manager, I use it for community onboarding. So here's a quick audio file that you can listen to on your way into work, just so you can kind of get to know our community and what we do and what our focus is and some of the results. And it's in podcast form. So it's kind of fun to listen to. So great ideas, great thoughts there. All right, everybody. Well, that wraps up our panel discussion for today. Thank you for coming to the Brain Trust and sharing some of these experiences. Obviously, this is something we're all learning together. I hope you all will stay involved and come to our next Brain Trust. And of course, we want to thank Y Meadows for creating this gathering and putting this agenda together. Founder of that company, Alan Rich, oversees this. So if you would love to join this group, please reach out to him directly. Thanks, everybody, for your thoughts.
Thank you all.